This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
So a warm welcome to a beautiful day here at andBeyond in Ngala, and we are looking at quite a large lioness, and see the way she's turning around and staring back. It might be that there could be some other lions just off to the right from where we are now. I can actually hear, might be even cubs that's in the bush somewhere right in front of us here. So we haven't seen anything yet. We just found this lioness and we drove all the way here. There was a carcass with a bit of vultures around. And of course we found her, but it sounds like there might be some noises coming out from this side. But come, join us here on this live drive in the African bush. So have a look in the grass here. You might just see movement. It might be that cub that's with this lioness. Now, just listen. It does look like it is a young cub. You can just see the movement in the grass there now. And actually calling back towards Mom. So I'm Nikki, I'm going to be your ranger, and with me on camera is BK. Now just behind us here, there's actually another lion that's coming back towards where this lioness is. So I'm just going to probably just duck out of the way, but you can hear there is definitely cubs right in front of here. Now what might happen is, because these cubs are young, if they do join up here, we'll probably just eventually head off, because we don't want to put any pressure or that on these lions. But have a look. So this is the other lion that is coming in now. And you can immediately see that mother's behavior. As soon as this other one came too close to that cub, it's like how she started snarling and moving, almost like putting her between that cub and this other young male. I'm just going to lean out of the way so you can have a look. Can see she's not happy with the other one moving closer, because often with lions is whenever there's cubs around, they won't oh, there's actually a cub in the grass just to the back of her. Now often what will happen, shame, you can see how small this little one is. Doesn't even look like it's a couple of weeks old. Now what happens is, normally the pride will only start introducing the cubs from around about 3 months. But it might be because there was a kill in the area that this mother just went and fetched one of the cubs and brought it closer to where the kill was, just so that it's closer to the mum. There's another lion also coming behind us, so let's give it some time, see how this mother's going to react, especially with more members of the pride coming closer to her. You can see there's the young cub right in front of her. Vicky, like, how amazing to see these cubs. And it looks like it's only one, and I don't, like, we haven't known this female to be pregnant at all. See the way she's just snarling, and the other one has moved slightly closer. We can see their faces are covered with blood, so it's definitely from that kill. See, with them panting so heavily, it's definitely because of the kill that they've made. Now, one of the rangers this morning, just to give you an idea about, we've been talking about this kill. Now, this morning there was a ranger that came into the area. There was a few vultures and hyenas, and they just found a kudu bull under the tree. Now, it might be that this lioness with the young cub made the kill, went to go and fetch the youngsters, and of course with the pride being around, they then came to investigate, found the kill with her, and started feeding. But the cub has just moved from where this one is, where the mother is, just slightly left in the grass. There's a bit of movement. But in the meantime, while we sit and enjoy this for the next little while, let's send you across to JP with a beautiful landscape.
Good afternoon and welcome to Tswalu. For those of you that are switching in for the first time, we are situated in the Northern Cape province of South Africa. At the moment, we have just taken a short little walk through the bush, and we also are having a view of the Waterbuck mountains. From here, we'll make our way further to a few of the waterholes, and we're not quite sure yet what our game plan is going to be involved, as we've got quite a tricky little weather system that's coming in. So we've pretty much been ducking and diving little rain squalls for most of this afternoon. However, we're going to do our very best to provide the best guided experience we can for you for this afternoon. Behind the camera, we've got Craig. And myself, JP Leroux. Also, for the new viewers who hasn't switched in with us before, if you notice that the area is incredibly green, as we've been currently experiencing one of the wettest summers so far in the last few years, making the area really living up to its reputation as a green Kalahari. Good afternoon, Sarah, and welcome to the show. You're 100% right. It is absolutely a stunning landscape. And there's so many different facets of it, which just adds to the beauty of it. As we've already pointed out in some of the earlier editions, we've got beautiful dune streets, we've got the beautiful Waterbuck mountain, flat plains areas between the dunes, and a number of other smaller habitats. In the meanwhile, we're going to start seeing what we can go and find, and Nikki is going to entertain you with some lion. One of the shrubs that we quite often find within this area is a plant which is known as a free thorn, which I just would like to point out to you. It's going to break off a small little branch so that I can show you how this little plant splits off in 3 different directions. So it's not a very good the plant doesn't hold a large amount of palatable food. However, when it does have seeds, it's quite often fed on by species such as Springbok. But one of the practical uses for this plant, as it's got fairly straight stems, is quite often for the use of arrow shafts by the sand hunters. As mentioned previously with Springbok, that feeds on a number of different plants in this area, but they're not very picky about what they eat. And quite often they will also feed incredibly toxic plants. So quite often we find that plants either can make themselves partially palatable or incredibly unpalatable. And one of the plants that we have in this area is a little fern-like plant that we have in front of us. This is referred to as the elandsbean. And nothing literally eats on this because of its toxicity. So quite often we also find that members such as these belonging to the pea family, especially when the leaves start wilting, they can become incredibly even more toxic than they are under normal conditions, as they will then start producing high amounts of prussic acid. The prussic acid, in combination with the bacteria inside the gut of the animal, can lead to serious poisoning, killing the animal within 24 to 36 hours. So while we're heading off now, we're going to go and see what we can find. And Phinda, and we're going to hand you over to Phinda, who is currently with.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a very windy and overcast andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where this afternoon we've managed to find those 5 young cheetah, all huddled together, as you can see, the one lying out on their own, but out in the open areas, trying to keep warm. In the distance behind them are a herd of Impala that I think they might have spotted as they pop their heads up. My name is Matt, and behind the camera we've got Owen this afternoon. And yeah, we've come to see what these cheetah are up to. I think it was the day before yesterday, managed to catch a young Ngala, but for the 5 of them, that's obviously not going to last them very long. So ideal conditions this afternoon to potentially hunt again, and those Impala, or the herd of Impala, would be ideal, especially if there are a couple of young lambs in the mix, some Impala lambs, which might be a little bit easier for them to catch. Their odds are probably a little bit better being the 5 of them as well. But I'm glad we've got to see them. And a very interesting story behind this lot. I'm not sure if Kim managed to film them the other day, but she would have told you a little bit more about them. Their mom sadly was caught by a male lion, and they are obviously not nearly at the age where they are young enough to fend for themselves. But just timing of that, with seasons wise, with the young Impala lambs, the Wildebeest calves, and I guess all year round they have access to Ngala and their little ones. They're actually doing really well so far and have managed to catch things for themselves, which is amazing. It really is amazing. And for the 5 of them they obviously will try to stick together for at least the next year. The males will form a coalition, and then the females will eventually move off to look to start litters of their own. But you can see they're all facing that herd of Impala in the distance. They are lying out in the open, which is not unusual. It just gives them a good vantage point to spot things like Impala, or even predators. If predators are around, like lions, they're able to get away in time. We are going to sit and wait here for a while with these cheetah to see if they do eventually get up and look to move towards those Impala. But we're going to head off to Nikki, who's got some lions, I believe, feeding.
So this is where, remember we spoke earlier about a carcass in the area. So you can see right here, there's a kudu carcass. You can see the horns on the left, and the rest of the pride is here. So you might even find that there could be one of the white lions as well within the pride. Now, as we mentioned earlier, because there were cubs in the area, so this is not where we saw that lioness earlier. So we've immediately moved away because there's youngsters around. We don't want to put any pressure on them. We'd rather just leave the area and come past here, just watch these ones for a little while, but after that we'll probably move away from these lions because that mother eventually will probably take those youngsters and bring them back towards this carcass, or she'll probably just be around in the area. So as I mentioned, we don't want to put too much pressure on them at all. So from here on we'll probably move up. But look at how this one, it's quite a big kudu, but I'm sure there's some more members of the pride that are around, and like a kudu like that would at least let this or feed this pride for this afternoon, maybe tomorrow. It's not something as big as a buffalo, and imagine with this pride there's almost 18 lions, so it's a good meal, but it won't last them too long. Now there are some vultures that just flew over, and that's why this lion has just picked up his head to have a look. David, sir, was your question who wins between lions and vultures? So, David, with lions, they'll probably just chase the vultures off. So, vultures don't really stand a chance against something like a lion. So as soon as there's a lot of vultures around the carcass, the lions will just go and the vultures will fly off. So the one lioness is directly just right next to us now. And she's actually making her way towards the carcass. So possibly hyenas, or maybe even other lions. If there's a bigger pride that moves into the area, they can possibly chase these ones off. But hyenas is another possibility. Let's say the rest of the pride's moving to go and drink water and there's only 1 or 2 members left. Then you might find that the hyenas could chase them off to get to the scraps. But here in general, whenever there's a lot of or if there's a pride this size, the hyenas won't really take that chance.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique WildEarth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with WildEarth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all WildEarth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve here. At the moment, it looks like we actually sitting with beautiful birds, or bird, which is a red-billed hornbill. And looks like they're doing their best of searching for insect, which this is actually best time for most birds. It actually was about to get rain here, but it's all stopped. And I'm Andrew on camera. I have Simon this afternoon. So we actually want to take you to Safari Live, where we now begin with a beautiful red-billed hornbill, as they are right there. I saw actually 2 of them, and there's quite a lot of insect that's already disturbed by just a little bit of a drizzling around here. So temperature for today, 25 degrees, 77 Fahrenheit, and it's probably windy a little bit. Probably going to die down more. But you talk to us on kids' questions at wildearth.tv. Those are the young age. But also the adult can go to the hashtag WildEarth, which is on Twitter and YouTube channel at FC, as well as wildearth.tv/an explorer. And we're going to be taking you live to your African safari. Look at these beautiful red-billed hornbill. Still haven't given up searching for their own food here. And they actually, we call them a red chili pepper bird, where there is flying banana, which those with a yellow beak. And actually not easy, and birds, especially when they're on their own activity, search for their own food. And some insect that don't stick around, they fly into hide, where it makes birds sometimes very difficult for them to catch. So my plan, I'm going to be doing kind of like East Gary Dam, that area, searching for anything. We're going to find our birds gone, so hoping to find anything to put on a show for everyone. So yeah, it's cooling off. Possibly see an animal doing their activity, such as a cat. If they're around, they're more likely to show up just before dark. going to carry on, set around here to the east. I'm going to be sending you over with his cheetah.
Welcome back, everybody. Very little has changed. Those Impala have stayed in the same spot, and these cheetah are still also just trying to hunker up towards one another and try and remain warm in these very cool conditions. A little bit of grooming going on there, and amongst them you can see they've still got that long fluffy hair on the back of their necks, which is an indication of their age. They're only about 9 months old, 10 months old, so still super young. Got quite a bit of growing to do. But just having a look at them now, it's a big change in weather from what we've had these last couple of days. We've had almost around 40-degree heat and humidity that's almost unbearable. So they, for once would be just making the most of these cooler conditions out in the open like they are. It is obviously very windy, so they are super vigilant and alert, like you can see. But with the 5 sets of eyes looking in every direction, they got a good chance of spotting danger if there is imminent danger around them. In and out of sleep as well, the 5 of them. I think that's where that expression catnaps come from with cheetah, when they nod off and then they're wide awake again, just making sure that the coast is clear. But also just looking at those Impala in the distance, the Impala are equally as alert in conditions like these. Try and stick to areas that they're a little bit more sheltered from the wind, so they can hear something like a cheetah coming their way. But in that herd, there are at least 2 or 3 heads sticking up looking in this direction. And I always wonder if, because there are 2 or vehicles parked with other animals, Benji asking why the cheetahs are not, the Impala are not moving away if they can sense the cheetah. They are very far away, these cheetah, from those Impala. So, even if they decided to stand up, the Impala might sound the alarm, they start snorting. But at the distance that they're at now, they don't really have anything to worry about. If they were maybe half the distance that they were from these cheetah, different story. You might hear them start alarming at them, and if these cheetah got up and walked towards them, that's when you'd see them run away at full tilt and disappear out of sight from these cheetah. But these Impala don't really have anything to worry about for now. Just looking at that herd of Impala, 1 or 2 little lambs in amongst them, which, like I said, would offer an easier target for these cheetah. They obviously can't run as fast as the adults, so it would be slightly easier to catch. But at this distance, I don't think they'd stand a chance, these 5. If they were out in the open, maybe a different story, but just looking around, 2 Wildebeest on the opposite side of the road that we parked on. They're very relaxed. They don't have much to worry about with these youngsters. But if they were a little bit older, I've seen those videos of coalitions of, I think there are about 5 of them in the Masai Mara that would catch adult Wildebeest. But for now, prey species for these cheetah would definitely include Impala, young Ngala, even maybe something like a Wildebeest calf. There are a lot of warthog piglets around as well now for them to try and catch, but it doesn't look like they're too interested. They're all now looking at them fast asleep, actually. Heads down, and the 4 of them, look how tightly packed they are next to one another. Beth, you're asking when I think these 5 cheetah will split. Not anytime soon. They are at least another year together, if not a little bit longer, until they're about 2.5. The males will maybe split from the females, but they'll stick together and form a coalition, and then the females might spend a couple of months more together before they eventually go their separate ways and look to start a litter of their own. You can see the rain just up above them starting to roll in now to Phinda. We might have to batten down the hatches. But yeah, to answer your question, Beth, for at least a while, so I'd say about a year and a half, that they'll still be together. I'm going to stick around, but I'm going to send you off to Andrew, who's got some waterbuck at a watering hole.
Thanks, Matt. Indeed, I have a beautiful waterbuck, as you can see right in the end of this Kori dam. They're all just taking it easy, lying down. And even though it's actually already wind that is blowing at the moment, where all of the heat is going to be disappeared soon, and then of course they love water. The waterbuck, the name comes from how they use water to defend themselves from danger, where they actually very good swimmer. They can swim across a lake as long as if there's no crocodile, they're more likely to survive, maybe spend a lot of time in the water while they're surrounded by predators, such as the wild dogs, pride of lions would hunt them. It looks like a girl's right there, I think. That I can see some of the horns with them, not yet. If it does, then once you know the horns up, then you know it's actually young males. It's actually a beautiful part of the day for most antelope. Whenever it started to cool off, and they're more likely to spend time getting to the open area, more especially with the wind that is already picking it up, makes them not to be much comfortable being in the thicket because they get disturbed. They don't hear much or not knowing what is coming for them in time. So they're a special feature. They're an animal with long hair, kind of grey, and they have white circle on their back as a follow me sign. So it helps those has to follow from the end backside, where they have to now follow one another, even though they have to run quickly away from their danger. It helps those follow behind to be able to follow those in front. And it looks like a male on the far left, which we're gonna take you to now. I think he's about to drink. It's cool that, there is a male around here. And there's also territorial antelope, where dominant male would stick around here and then defend his own territory. So I'm gonna take another look at this animal while I'm sending you over to JP with his cheetah.
Good Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We've just discovered 7 cheetahs, and it's quite exceptional to see so many of them together. Normally it's just a few of them, and what we generally find, if it's only 1 or 2 that's together, it might be a pair of brothers that might form a coalition. But here we've got 3 adult males which we know about. I haven't determined the sex of 2 of the others yet, but it seems if a female is an estrus at the moment, and they're all very keen to try and attempt to mate with her. The female is the one that's currently under the bush, trying to stay away from the males. We've also noticed that the one male very close to us, or the second male from us, the belly is quite full, so he's definitely had a meal earlier on. So they might have made a kill earlier this morning and consumed that. So we were talking about the importance of scent this morning, and this is precisely how they would find this female and determine that she was an estrus by detecting where she's urinated. We quite often see that the behavior where animals will detect if a female is an estrus or where they're trying to analyze a scent is that they will curl their lip back after they smell the urine and then bar their teeth. The whole reason why they curl the lip back is to try and subject that smell to the Jacobson's organ so that the brain can then analyze what the scent is telling them. We're just going to stick with them as long as possible and see what they can get up to. That's what I mentioned earlier. It's exceptional to see so many of them together. Lady Blue, to answer your question, I'm not sure how long they stay in estrus, but they are a polyestrus species, which means that they will go through several estrus cycles. As long as the female is in a good condition or in a healthy condition, she will be able to go into estrus. In the meanwhile, we're going to stick with them and see what they get up to. So we're just going to hand you over to Lauren, who's currently viewing some animals at a waterhole.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second drive of the year. This morning was an absolutely incredible drive. If you missed it, we had Sabi, Tandy and Cub. So I'm hoping this drive is equally as incredible. My name is Lauren. I do have Davy on camera once again. And the weather, I'm not actually sure what's happening here in the Lowveld. It's stark contrast to this morning. If Davy will just show you, you've got some really grey clouds rolling in. The wind is picked up. We had a shower earlier of rain, but it passed pretty quickly. But I'm not entirely sure it's not going to happen again. Oh, we see a bird. Go, Davy. Let me get my binos out. I am not sure I can identify it in the air. Can any of you? But we have came here to admire the weavers. Just to check on how busy they are. No matter how hard the wind is blowing, the weavers are still busy. They've got a job to do. They're not going to let the weather determine that they don't get any ladies. I'm trying to think which one was the nest that we saw yesterday, Davy, with that first blade of grass. I think it was this one. This one here, I think. I could be wrong, but you can see how far it's developed. Sassy Cassie, I don't know. I've never been inside, but it's not deep. Not at all. We regularly drive past it in winter when we come here, and there's not a single drop of water. This pan dries up quite quickly. It would probably come up to my ankles, or maybe a little bit deeper for me. Maybe halfway between my knees and my ankles. It's not deep. This is sort of a natural don't know what you would call this. This is sort of a natural waterhole. It's not a dam, and it's not one of the pumped pans. It's the other half of twin dams, and it's not deep at all. Oh, here we go. Here's the weavers. This is our festive tree out here. Christmas tree of the bush. Elizabeth, their nests are actually very delicate. Although they're very robust, they're also extremely delicate. And the weavers love to hang them above water. Not all weavers do this, but generally speaking, the nests will hang above water on any tree that's available. And this is to avoid predators coming and raiding the nest, or at least terrestrial predators. And they're actually very light. They're very, very light. It doesn't matter that the branch is swinging or moving, as long as the nest itself is structured so that it can carry the female and the eggs. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter that it blows in the wind. Inside is a little microclimate as well to control temperatures. It's designed to avoid parasites, and it's just large enough for the female and her eggs to create warmth, insulation for incubation. And they're small birds. Weavers are not large. They're very light themselves, so they always just put their nests on little branches like this. We've actually found nests that have fallen on the ground, and they're very, very difficult to pull apart. Okay, I can feel some rain droplets. May need to put some rain covers on, but for now we're going to send you across to another location.
Welcome back, everybody. Those 5 cheetah are all now huddled together. Some you can see resting their heads on each other, on their backs. If you look closely, there are a couple of limbs as well stretched out over each other, but all now quite cozy and comfortable. I don't think those Impala are on the menu this afternoon, or at least not for the time being. Very strange weather. We had a little bit of rain now. Now the skies have opened up, or the clouds have cleared, and the sun's now shining through. I was just saying to Owen how we must look for that rainbow. None of the kind whatsoever, but we were actually promised quite a bit of rain, which we haven't even gotten close to a mil this afternoon. But an incredible setting. These clouds, I mentioned the wind earlier, are racing past us up ahead, or up above should I say, this afternoon. Be interested to see, maybe we venture off to another spot just now and see if we can't find a couple of elephant bulls maybe at one of the watering holes, now that those little pans and wallows have dried up and have just become mud. They have to start venturing off to the larger watering holes to have a drink. So it might be worth us going and checking other areas for other animals. Maybe if we're lucky enough to find some of the lions as well in the western part of this reserve. We'll see if we venture off there, if we're lucky enough to find them. But it doesn't look like these cheetah are going to do much, but maybe they knew that the weather was going to clear up and it was going to get a little bit warmer, although now the sun is disappearing at a rapid rate. It's tough to say. Sometimes you think they're going to get up and move, but just enjoying the first day of the new year, these 5 cheetah lying where they are. You can see when the wind starts getting gusty like that, it's unbelievably windy this afternoon. When they lift their heads and just scan around. Absolutely. Brady, you're asking if the cheetah will stay like this if it starts raining. They will most certainly do that. Maybe find a little bit of a spot like a thicket or the likes to get a bit of shelter from the rain, but yeah, wherever they go, they will get wet. So not unlikely. And that little bit of rain that we had now that passed by or blew over, they remained unchanged. And that's, funny enough, where they get a little bit of their moisture from, or the liquids. If it rains from grooming themselves and each other, they'll obviously get a little bit of moisture from that. And we saw a little bit of grooming just now, but that rain, wasn't enough to wet their fur coats very much at all. Those Impala still just keeping an eye out here where we are parked. Although most of their heads are facing left. I think because the wind's coming from the side that it is, they've chosen the more sheltered side where they can probably hear things coming. But I don't think these cheetah are going to venture off to them.
We're actually still in the same position because we were debating about the weather. I'm not sure if we're in store to be rained on or not. We always have to be cautious. But we've just been watching this individual. It's a village. I think he's finalising his little nest here. I think he's made it, he's created it, and he's just perfecting it. Making sure there's nothing sticking out, it's all neat and tidy. And that the ladies are definitely going to choose that one, for sure. I think they are. I would choose that one. And you can see how easily they just cling on. They're just swinging. It's windy. They're all clinging on. Now, although weavers are not monogamous, by the males doing what they're doing here, it is a form of parental care in the early stages. They are investing a lot of energy in creating a nest for the female and for the eggs. There's nothing after that, but it's definitely a form of parental care. A little bit of investment from the male side towards his offspring. I mean, once the female chooses a nest, it's up to her. Okay, we're going to sit here just a little bit longer and watch our weavers cling on in the wind.
You want me to move again?
Sorry about that. Don't quite know what happened to Tswalu there. We haven't moved, but we are going to. We're going to bumble and see what else we can find. When we left Handy and Cub, she was heading in a northeasterly direction, which means she was leaving Chitswa towards the boundary. So she could possibly be in Torchwood. And although it was so lovely to see them this morning, it wasn't long enough. We lost them fairly quickly. They went into the Mulwanini, and yes, I'd like to spend more time with them. So we're just going to scratch around and see if we can come up with anything. One thing that's going to work in our favour is the weather. It's cool, it's windy, it's overcast, which means the predators will get mobile fairly quickly. And I want to end my day, the first day of the year, at the Hyena Day. There's nowhere else I want to be. I've already checked. I thought it's worth checking just due to the weather, but no one was around. I think they partied hard last night. and they're still in bed. The weather does not look great. Something's coming in from the southeast. Although I have to say it's nice that that heat has broken. It was becoming mostly unbearable. Okay, I'm going to bumble off into the storm and we're going to send you guys back down to JP.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We're still with our cheetahs. As we mentioned earlier, there's a total of 7 of them. And currently we see that males are trying to mate with this female. So there's one adult female, the 2 brothers that we saw the other day, which we were fortunate to follow for a short while. And then there's 4 sub-adult cubs, but is most likely one is a male and the others are all females. So they're a little bit skittish of the larger males and they're trying to avoid them. However, the focus is on mom, as they've been trying to mate with her. What we also find that's quite interesting is a lot of chittering and chattering sounds that they're producing, and I hope that they're going to start calling again. So unlike for other large cats that growl, and these guys communicate by whistles and hisses and other bird-like chirps which they will produce in terms to communicate with one another. So quite often we actually do hear them making a long-distance contact whistle if they want to make contact with other individuals. So if you look at the 3 that we have on the screen, those are 2 males and the female. We were asked the other day, how do we separate males from females? You can see that the males are much larger than the females. And then also their skulls and heads. The skull is much larger as well than that of the female. Some of the other characteristics which you can obviously look for is obvious. If they lift their tail, with the males obviously you will notice that there's a scrotum. I was also asked a few times on one of the previous editions, how do we know that this is not a leopard? That's actually very easy. They're much more slender in build, and then also we see that they're longer leg and they've got spots, not rosetted patterns as that the leopard has. And then they've also got those very distinctive teardrop markings that comes down the eyes. Just to give you an idea, there's currently 7 cheetahs, what we have right in front of us, and worldwide there's maybe less than 5,500 of them. In general, South Africa has less than 550 of them in total number. They're also one of the endangered mammal species. And what we find quite interestingly about them is that some 10 to 20,000 years ago, they went through a population bottleneck with a very few individuals that remained. And this is normally, under normal conditions, this will reduce genetic viability within the species. However, it's not the case of cheetah. And they still display quite a healthy genetic diversity. Good afternoon, Sinak, and welcome to the show with a human ear. I've heard them up to 500 to 800 meters away from me. However, they've got phenomenal hearing, so they would possibly be able to communicate over a much larger distance with one another through means of calls. Just as calls are important sometimes to maintain contact, scent is also equally important to maintain contact. And as mentioned earlier, scent is also very important to determine the reproductive condition or status of an individual animal. One of the things that we find with females in the mammal world is that they will be very selective about the quality of the mate that they choose. She knows that these two males are territorial males, so therefore they are able to maintain a territory and defend that against other males, making it worthwhile in terms of being chosen for as mates. Let's just see what they get up to. There we can hear those little chitters and chats that they're making, and all those little chirps, which we were mentioning earlier on. Oh, listen to that. I'm just going to reposition the vehicle quickly. There we go. We should be able to see all 7 of them now. One of the behaviors that I noted what was quite interesting is with one of the younger individuals, that they're a little bit unsure about what's going on, and they immediately reacted in an aggressive manner to one of the other younger individuals in the group, which was quite strange.
So we're driving now, you can see the wind is starting to pick up quite a bit, and because of that, most of the more common animals that we would find, they've now moved into a bit of cover. So we are carrying on this particular road. We haven't seen any signs of wild dogs. I've been really hoping to find some signs. There's quite a few hyena tracks, and often hyenas, when you find a lot of tracks, it's a good sign that there are possibly trailing wild dogs, because as soon as the wild dogs make a kill, they'll go and try and steal it, but haven't seen anything yet. Probably what we'll do for this afternoon is then just explore this area for the next little while, but then maybe start heading more to the southern part of the reserve and to areas where there's also a lot of prominent water with a lot of impalas around, more common game, and yeah, never know what we can find, but that's probably going to be our plan. And of course, as it cools down, we are looking out for signs of leopard. It's just a beautiful afternoon. It's cooled down quite a bit because of the cloud cover. Initially, the start of this drive was really warm, but this wind is making it a bit more bearable. So there's a pan system down here. Often elephants go down to this pan system to flick themselves with mud, cool themselves down. I also know that there's a particular leopard in this area that often moves past that water to go have a drink. And it's just a good starting point to go and see if there's any tracks or signs around. We had a lot of rain, so there's like puddles of water everywhere, so there's no need for them to travel specifically to a waterhole, but we'll just start there and see if there's any signs. The waterhole's coming up in front here. The other day we saw quite an amazing bird here. It's called a rufous-bellied heron. And it was quite unique to see in this particular area, but it was seen up at this pan system. So let's go there, we'll stop. I'll even pull out the bird book and we can all have a look at this rufous-bellied heron. But it's not too far, maybe half a minute's drive. You can actually see the pan here. There's quite a few prominent game trails. So just these route animals reduce to the water and back again. Here we go. Just going to stop like this. And then we can all have a look and see if there's anything around this pan system. You can just see the wind. Look at the ripples on the water from the wind picking up. Jackie, I'm not too sure on the exact number of pans, because I mean there's a lot of pans in the area, especially after some good rain, but prominent water sources, probably around about 5-6 big water sources where the animals can go and have a drink, especially during the dry parts of the year. But I just wanted to take the time to show everyone that rufous-bellied heron. So this is the one we saw here the other day, and it's this one right here. Now, it's hard with the color. I mean, the light's not really favoring us here, but something that's really prominent is a rusty colored belly, as well as a bit of a rust color around the wings, and then bright yellow legs. But that's one of the herons that we found here. For now, I think let's maybe carry on with our drive. It's just nice always just to come and have a look at a pan system, because you never know what you can find. There are quite a few frogs here as well, and the one is a foam nest frog. Now, we can't really see it too well. If we do find a better picture or like a frame of one, we'll definitely try and stop. But in the meantime, while we're going to venture off, see if we can find some wild dogs, let's head across to Mike with some Impala.
Good afternoon, everyone. Look what we've got, a big herd of Impala, mostly rams, a few females and their youngsters, and some wildebeest and zebra also in the mix there, with this gorgeous dramatic skies as a massive summer low-felt storm brews along the mountain ranges there of the Drakensberg escarpment. It's absolutely spectacular, and we've chosen this high point here because we really do get the full view of it. We actually got a whole cloudburst that was happening a moment ago. Anyway, hi everyone, my name is Mike, behind the camera is Gert, and you've joined us at Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy. And as I said, we've stopped here because we wanted to look at this incredible sky and how it's developing. Actually, almost wish we could do a time lapse because it's really changing very quickly. We were sitting here a moment ago and we noticed that there was just a column of rain, like straight down from a cloud, coming straight down. So it obviously just opened up. The conditions were just right, and it just dumped all of the cloud's rains immediately. And I wonder how that's going to change animals' behavior. It's very windy, as you can see right now, and I can see more clouds all around us building. So I wonder if more is coming our way. I hope so. They promise a wet year, so I'm hoping that a bit more rain will come. There's a few interesting birds as well. You're not going to be able to see them, they're too far away, but there's a few raptors that are following in the wake of these clouds, obviously catching any insects that are swept up as these heavy winds sweep through. Impala not too fussed at the moment. They seem pretty relaxed, just making the most of it, and the temperature's breaking wonderfully now. It's been so hot and humid the last couple of days that now, with this wind pushing through and these clouds dropping rain, you can really feel that the wind temperature is a lot lower. The sun is still hot though, it's beating down on us. I'm sure you can hear that wind in the microphone, blowing strongly as well, gusting through here. We're here on Impala Plains. Because there's not much tree cover here, the wind is actually pushing through here quite swiftly. It won't be too much of a problem for the impalas though. They've got plenty of eyes and ears around to spot the danger, so they are pretty relaxed.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We're still with the 7 cheetahs, still watching them, still seeing a number of interesting behaviors. One of the interesting behaviors we saw was amongst some of the younger individuals in the group, where they were actually displaying what we refer to as displacement behavior, where one was actually responding in an aggressive manner to one of the other siblings. And the only reason why we can think that they might have done that is because of the not being quite sure what's going on, especially now with these two males coming in, both of them showing interest in mom and not quite sure what is going to happen. I'm sure they've never ever seen this before in their life. So normally what we find is that once that the cubs of a certain age, normally after approximately 12 to 18 months, then the chances is that that female is going to fall pregnant again. And this is probably now what's precisely happening. And this is why these two males are sticking with her. You can see that they're smelling there where she was, and most likely analyzing the scent of urine, most likely once again determining a reproductive condition. They're very, very, very curious and very, very interested in her, although she's playing a little bit hard to get. So generally we find here by roughly 18 months of age, this is when they normally will leave. Good afternoon, Bogie, and welcome to the show. Just to answer your question, it's roughly around by 16 years of age, which they can obtain. Quite often the statistics that they give with regards to ages is quite often taken from animals that come from zoos. However, in the wild, most animals are generally shorter lived because of all the additional stresses that they have in their daily life. Here we can see the male smelling again. Our female is just coming out from behind the bush, and these two males will probably follow very soon. Ah, here they come. I really hope that we're going to see them mating. Now that I actually think of it, I've never actually seen cheetahs mating in the wild. I've often been fortunate enough to watch both leopard as well as lions mating, which is also quite an interesting ritualized mating process to watch. Good afternoon, Rosalind. To answer your question, their jaws aren't their teeth isn't sharp at all like that of lion, but however they've got very strong jaws that work like a clamp, and they literally suffocate the animal by holding onto the throat, and that's how they will kill the animal. Not like leopard and lion, which will pierce either the jugular or the spine. So what we also find is that generally when the cheetah chase a prey animal, they chase it down, they exhaust it, they trip it up, and then immediately as it rolls, they will grab it by the throat and then suffocate it. They themselves also need to take quite a long time to just catch their breath before they can start feeding themselves again after that. It's just such a beautiful sighting to sit and watch these seven, and just to be able to study all the little unique characteristics which makes them a cheetah. One of the things that always impresses me is how flexible the spine is and how they use their tail as a rudder. Those are two adaptations which they use when they're running at high speed. What's even more interesting is that we often look at the tracks and we'll find a very long groove underneath the feet. Combined with a very blunt nails, that will act like a running shoe for a sprinter, which provides them with far more traction when they are running their prey down. One of the animals that they quite often hunt in this area is Springbok. And I'm always quite amazed about how alert Springbok is and how quickly Springbok can self-change from direction when they are being chased by cheetah.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
Cock's holding the tail, it's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still currently sitting with a 7 cheetah. And we were asked a question earlier on how long does a female stay in estrus. So I just had the opportunity to quickly grab a book, 2 that I had, and went through them. And I came onto an answer that females will often spray for up to 2 weeks when they're in estrus to attract the attention of males. So we can safely put a guess on it that she is normally for 2 weeks in estrus. It is also said that she is often quite aggressive towards males during courtship and while they're attempting to mate with her. But I'm sure that they're going to try and stick to her as long as they can. One of the things that these 2 males would like to avoid at all costs is another group of males coming into this area and potentially mating with this female. One of the interesting things that we find with most cat species is that when the female is in estrus, she'll start off with displaying that signs of estrus. What we'll also find is that once males will mate with her, the female will only then go into full estrus. One of the characteristics about the penis of most cat species is that they've got barbed tips. And when that barbed tip has been pulled out, that creates a prickle of pain, which then brings the female into full ovulation. I'm really hoping that these males are going to mate with a female. That will mean that somewhere in the next 95 days that there might be another litter of potentially of 1 to 6 cheetah cubs that are born, which will just add to the conservation success story of cheetahs at Tswalu. We're going to stick with these cheetahs for a little bit longer, but in the meanwhile, we're going to send you over to Andrew, who is busy viewing some hippo.
Thank you very much, JP. We came to a dam here where it's actually a male hippo in this waterhole. Since, it's so much of a wind now, you can see also the water is not static. He comes out every now and then, and he spends a lot of time submerging than normal. So it's probably because of maybe that, he feels like he was actually in the far end of the bank when we got here. So he got right inside in the middle of in the dam here. But I'm sure he may pop out for a little bit of a take a breath where he is. Goes back again. This time it looks like he's not actually cooperating. It's probably because of maybe the weather, maybe this is kind of like maybe behavior that he's at right now. Sometimes animal can change behavior from normal to a very unusual behavior, especially when there's a male, they have a lot of stress, or there's a yawn. Mandy yawning means. So I'm gonna stay put here. In the meantime, I'll be sending you over to Lauren with her leopard.
We found her not long after we left the weavers. We found Miss Tandy. She's crossed back into Chitwa, and she appears to be she's now looking at the Impala. There's lots of Impala here, but she was also calling as if she was almost looking for her cub. She's paced back and forth, back and forth. She heads east, then she turns back and goes west. So I think she's looking for him, but she's possibly also hungry. And it started drizzling, it's raining now, and if a storm rolls in, it's normally perfect hunting weather. We found her just strolling along Gowrie Main, marking her territory. Really not far from where we had Sabi this morning. They really clash in terms of territorial boundary. Sips. Can you take over the lock now, please?
Yeah, I can take over, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. But because Chitwa Open is, believe it or not, very, very open, the Impala will see her a mile away. I mean, the grass is long. She could keep her body very low to the ground, but it's not ideal. It's not ideal sort of vegetation and area for a leopard to ambush. She looks like she's going to blow away. Don't blow away, Tandy. Dan, I agree. Always. Tandy's planning something. Who knows what? But I completely agree. The Queen is planning. I'm really hoping that her and her son reunite. They must have split not long after we left them this morning. And I'm really hoping that they'll reunite so we can see them together. Oh, those Impala, she's just staring at them. They're really not too far away. They're way off in the distance, Davion. Chitwa Open. You see, it's far too open for a leopard. I mean, she could try and get closer, but the chances of her getting spotted, quite literally, are very high. But she's still watching them all the same. Why not? Tandy's been spending a lot of time on Chitwa. Chitwa's a very small property, but an incredible property. It's one of my favourites. The sightings I've had here are just beyond magical. Chitwa doesn't do things in half measures. When magic happens here, it really happens here. And both Tandy, Sabui and Kuchaba all use Chitwa. All found on Chitwa. And for the size of the property, 3 female leopards. That's high. That's a lot of leopards for a very small property. Where's your boy? Okay, we're going to try and stay with Miss Tandy Cat as long as we can, and we're going to send you across to Andrew with his hippo.
Thank you very much, Lauren. So from Tandy the Leopard, and now with this male hippo that is still showing off. Actually, he's trying to kind of show us a little bit of his body. And Yuan, well, I think he's not bad, not like the time when we come here where he's just gonna disappear down. And not to come back when he does that, we just for a quick and go down again. Where this type of male where probably he doesn't have female right now. So it's gonna be a lot of stress sometimes when he has to go out. Every time you try where female is, it's occupied by other dominant male wherever it goes. So it's quite a few waterhole that we already seen here. It's empty without a hippo. And this is where he would occupy this watering hole, but hoping to actually come across the female one day. Which it happens sometimes. Some females, they don't come back to the same bull, and then he doesn't actually really spend time with them. He has to leave them and do his job where he's now go reactivate, sent by chemical, which most is poop the dung along the path where he operates. And that gives chance sometimes some female that don't return back, all of them. So they find themselves maybe close to him. Then once they're hooked up, probably going to spend time since he welcomed them. But for now, it doesn't look like he has any choice or any luck of having those females. Wait, it's good for him. It's plenty of water. For survival, that's what they need. They need water. Hippo won't survive for long if there is no water. When you're out of the water, Kayla, so you're asking if I ever seen a hippo mating? Yes, I did. So it takes place in the water. And then it's actually easy to tell that always that bull will be actually showing a lot of his neck and all of it. Head sections all the time. And then, it takes place under water, in the water. Could be during the day or at night, or usually, once the female, she's on estrus, and she's been picked up by males. A lot of time, they will spend a lot of time in that water. Even those other females and young males, they'll actually go out to feed. Those are coupled, they're more likely to spend more of time in the water. So see, gestation period is only 7.5 months. Depend. Could be anything from 8 if it's longer. 8 months. Give birth to one young one always. So when you get out of the water here, it's all about eating grasses. And if it's drizzling, it's fine, which actually support their skin temperature. They don't need very sunny day for long, where their skin is actually have a little hole which you produce oily kind of glandless skinny, where you sweat those kind of like bloody sweat, where that's why when you see hippo out of the water sometimes they kind of like sometimes pretty much pinkish because of these sweat glands they produce So I'm going to carry on, search around here in this windy. I'm going to be sending you over JP with this cheetah.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We're still with the cheetahs, watching a number of interesting behaviors taking place. So for the moment, these two boys are still very interested in the mom of four. However, she's giving them a little bit of a cold shoulder, and the reason why we know that she's giving them a cold shoulder is because she's snarling at them. Generally, snarling is a type of aggressive behavior towards the males. As mentioned earlier, that these males might potentially try and follow this female for up to 2 weeks. And she would advertise by spraying urine quite regularly in this time to advertise that she is sexually reproductive. And in this time, they reckon that females tend to be quite aggressive towards the males that are trying to mate with them. So let's see what happens from here. At the moment, the two boys is just taking a break and hoping that she's going to change her attitude towards them. Good afternoon, Dominique, and welcome to the show. With Cheetah, this mating process can last up to 2 weeks. So as we discussed a little bit earlier in the show, that the female will roughly advertise for up to 2 weeks, which indicates that she has a 2-week-long estrus cycle. And that's the window of opportunity that these two guys have to mate with her. So for the viewers that has just came on board, that has not been watching, these males will try and follow her and stick with her to prevent that other males mate with her. Good afternoon, Beverly, and welcome to the show. It's possible that she will mate with both. So I'm not 100% sure when it comes to Cheetah, but what I do know is that when it comes to Lion, that a number of males can potentially mate with a female, and each of those individual males can potentially provide genetic material towards a potential individual within a litter. So I would safely assume that it's the same for Cheetah. We're just going to spend a little bit more time with these cheetahs, and in the meanwhile we're handing you over to Lauren. Lauren's got a leopard that's been sticking around for a while that they're enjoying over the last few days.
Well, luckily we managed to keep up with her. She's now come to another termite mound. She's scanning for sure. Now we're almost in the exact same area that we had her this morning. Almost. So I really do think her cub's somewhere nearby. I'm not sure where, But I think if we're able to keep up with her, then we'll probably see them reunite. But I also think she's hungry. There's a large possibility she's looking at her next meal for the two of them. Her tummy did not look that full. And Tandy's remarkably small. She's so small. She doesn't look it right now because she's so beautiful and elegant to look at, but she's very, very petite. Kalamba's bigger than her mother now, for sure. The very small little leopard. She's still facing towards the dam. That's where all the prey are. The question is, how do you get there, Tandy? It's all about calculations. It's all about weighing up your options when you're a leopard. There's no point in wasting energy for failed attempts. But there was a paper, I think it's quite outdated now, but it released the figure for the Kruger. Anyway, it will be different in different areas across the world, different environments, different landscapes, different subspecies. But for the Kruger, the African leopard is only successful 16% of the time. 16%, that's low. All the other sort of 84% is failed attempts. It's very low. It's lower than a lion. Out of all the predators here, wild dogs are said to have the highest success rate out of all the mammalian top predators. I'm not including insects or all sorts, because dragonflies, they're one of the best. But wild dogs, out of all the sort of top predators, are said to have the highest success rate in terms of hunting. Gwen, did you just say something there? Sorry, I think we lost comms.
These elephants have been playing here. We're at Leopard Dam now. We've done a bit of a circuit. The rain moved off and the elephants have come down to have a swim. But you just missed a very funny thing. So there's one elephant that's now in the water who came so close behind the car, and because of all this wind we did not hear. We were focused on these ones in front. Got the biggest fright, which then gave me a huge fright. And the elephant had to run off a little bit, and then it was very funny. You had to be there. As you can see, there now two of them are moving off. Oh, my head's going to get in the way. Two of them are moving off. They've probably been in the water for quite a while now. And there's another two that are still swimming. With all this wind, I'm sure the open area is not so nice for an elephant. We talked about how the impalas are happy that the wind is blowing and they're out in the open, because it means that they can at least see a predator coming where they can't hear them. But for elephants it's even worse, because they've got massive ears. So when a wind is blowing, it's not comfortable at all for them. So I'm sure they're going to go and find a thicket somewhere where they can go and hide in. These other two elephants still playing right behind this little Tamboti island. So all we can really see is a bum there. Big old elephant bum. And there seems like a few baboons coming down on the other side of the dam. We can't see them very well now, but some baboons coming down, probably to roost in the trees along the side of the dam. And there's the sun coming out. Such a dramatic afternoon. No, elephants are gone, disappeared. Invisible elephants. They were never here. We're a figment of our imagination. Oh my goodness, I think we might take off in this wind. Potentially a cyclone. I'm sure you can't hear anything I'm saying. It's so windy, it's unbelievable. This might be some of the strongest wind I've felt on a safari for quite some time. I mean, you can see the water. There's just waves coming across. I'm glad to hear. Okay, apparently you can hear me, and that's fantastic. So you can see the waves in the water as well. It's a small body of water. It's not a big waterhole, but even though it's so small, you can see the size of the waves that are rippling across. That just goes to show how powerful this wind is. Now the elephants have come out from behind that Tamboti island, so we can see them better. You can see they're having the best time ever. One much younger male than another one. This one's going to try and mount. Look at that. Very important practice. We watched an elephant mating a few days ago, which was really exciting. Lerato, I think that's exactly what it is. They are bringing in the new year as if this is how they mean for it to go on. Having so much fun. Oh, that looks a bit painful though. Got a bit of a tusk in the face. So there's other very interesting news. So that very big elephant bull, some of you might know of it. I don't think we've ever gotten to film it on WildEarth, but Ezulwini, the very massive elephant bull with the huge tusks, is back on the area that we can traverse between... Oh, you have filmed him. Oh, that's fantastic. So Gert says he has gotten this elephant on WildEarth before. So that's fantastic. That elephant is back in the area that we can potentially go and find him. Not today, because I'm worried that we'll get blown away in a tornado. But tomorrow morning, there's a few people out looking for it right now. If they manage to find that big, massive elephant bull with the huge tusks, we'll definitely go tomorrow. Try and see if we can get him on film again, because he is really phenomenal. I mean, twice the size of these elephants with tusks that can almost reach the ground. He's really one of the last tuskers left in this area of the Kruger National Park. And it's becoming more and more rare. See, due to poaching in former times when poaching was really bad and ivory hunting was a big thing, all the elephants with big tusks were unfortunately hunted. And so the genetics for big tusks have largely been lost. Now, it's not to say that they won't come back again. Slowly but surely the elephants with big tusks will breed more and then we'll get bigger tusks. Oh, there's a couple of elephants coming up behind us again to say hi. Oh, what is this? Elephant that's leaving has gotten a bit of a fright from something. I wonder if it's just the wind. These animals a little bit worked up. My goodness. Look at this elephant in the water. See how it's got its ears open like that, facing towards us? It's trying to figure something out. But in the meantime, whilst we wonder what this elephant figures out, we'll send you over to Nikki.
So talking about how windy it is, so often when it's this windy you'll find that animals will move into a bit of cover, but this Impala, because of all the noise and the cover behind him, he's moved into an open area. Now earlier on there was a male leopard. We only saw like a quick glimpse of it and then ran off, so you couldn't see it anymore. But look at this Impala. You can see it's very high on alert, and often I've noticed it, especially when the wind is blowing really hard, is that the animals are more vigilant, maybe because of all the new smells, maybe because of how strong, or all the noise in the background. And because of that they can't hear, so they feel a lot more vulnerable, so they try and move into the open areas. And you'll also see the way he's standing down, so the wind's actually blowing from him towards us, is that if something had to move behind him, at least he will smell it, but if something comes from downwind, he won't be able to hear it or see it. Smell it, unless he can see it, and that's probably why he's positioned himself the way he has. But what I wanted to do is also just take this time to show you this beautiful scene. So remember we said we're going to head to the southern part of the reserve to try and see if there's any signs of possibly wild dogs, or maybe even something like a cheetah, but have a look at this beautiful landscape. We have all these clouds that are moving in. There's this patch of sunlight that's coming through. It's the most ideal savanna picture that you'll probably see. Just see all the cloud cover with the... Peter, it is absolutely magnificent. Just look back to these clouds. I want us just to focus back on the clouds where the sun is about to set, and we'll just leave it like this, and you'll actually see how the clouds start to move because of the wind. So we'll try and just keep it as still as possible. I want everyone just to have a look at how the clouds are moving out of the screen. That's so beautiful. Now that Impala's not going to be heading anywhere pretty soon. He might just be in this open area because he's by himself, or he could possibly go and join up with other Impala rams, or even with a herd. But let's appreciate this for the next few minutes, and then we'll carry on. Just incredible. Now, like, I'll probably slowly carry on to go see what else we can find in the area, but just such a beautiful scene.
Thanks, Nikki. Cloud, we're here, also here under a cloud. What we got here, we got a, looks like a small, group of breeding herd here. It looks like a female and a two different age of the young one, where they're now moving on. But it's already too much wind, so they don't want to be disturbed, I believe. So what I've done is just to give a little bit of a space so they can able to feel comfortable as you look through this bush. And then it's probably where a lot of a separation happened when they lost communication sometime. Then they were able to later.
We're just carrying on now. What I'm thinking is dogs, a cheetah that we were hoping for. And I've also haven't heard anyone seeing tracks, so there's no need for us to go and... there's no need for us to, go around and just search the whole time if we don't see any fresh tracks or signs. So for now, let's start heading back. We had some male lions this morning. See if they're still in the area and hopefully find them again.
Not the greatest views we've ever had of our trendy cat, but she's decided to have a little snooze. It's obviously nice and cool, the wind is strong, lots of cloud cover, and she's found the perfect spot. If you were to drive past us, turn right round and this fallen over tree, you would never spot that leopard in there. I'm almost sure of it. I wouldn't. She's just nestled herself into the grass here. But I don't want to leave her, because it's been a long time since I've spent time with Tandy, and I know her cub is around here somewhere. So I think we can just spend a little bit of time with her, call on some other stations, and hopefully she'll get mobile soon. Now, I get asked a lot these days, you know, how often do leopards have to eat? And there's never a straightforward answer, because it really depends on what they kill, what they've already got in their tummy. I mean, if you just have a really light breakfast in the morning, maybe just an apple, you'll be starving by lunch. Whereas if you have a really substantial breakfast, a big bowl of Scottish porridge, then that can take you right through the day. Davey's laughing at me. But with leopards, generally speaking, on an average, they require about anywhere between 1.5 to 5 kilograms of meat per day. That's sort of what sustains them and sustains their body mass. That doesn't mean they're going to get that every single day. Happy New Year, guys! And yeah, it doesn't mean she's going to get that every single day. And again, one of the figures is an average. It's based on averages, a lot of data pulled together. But the figure does say that they will sort of make around 50 kills in a year in the Kruger. And that's a very low amount. So they don't need to eat every day. Of course, if they're going to kill a really large impala, like a ram or a ewe, that's almost one per week. And of course, even when they are successful, even when you're referring to a kill that's part of that 16%, 10% is lost to scavengers. Sorry, Gwen, we're having really bad comms issue. I didn't catch that. If you can just repeat.
Sorry about those windy communications that we're having, guys, but we were talking, Geert and I don't know if you can still hear the wind, about how this kind of weather is really good for the predators hunting, because it came out of nowhere. It was very calm earlier, and now the temperature's dropped, and the wind is pumping through here for the last hour, or maybe the last 45 minutes. And we've just seen an impala, which is dead still standing, staring. You can hear the elephants also grumbling around. And, you know, the impalas, the antelope, the elephants, they can't smell anything with this wind. They can't hear anything. And they can't see the movement of the cats, the hunting predators, as they stalk through the grass and the trees, because everything is moving. You know, these animals' eyesight is so well adapted to spotting movement, but when it's like this, everything is moving, it's almost impossible. So we're really hoping that maybe over the course of the next few days we'll find a carcass somewhere with hopefully a leopard, because we haven't really had much leopard action recently. We've seen them, but they've just been too shy to get on film, unfortunately. So we really do need them to have a carcass so we can watch them over the course of a few days, and then they can relax a little bit. But hopefully soon we'll get it. We're also just saying it's much easier at Djuma, for example. Those leopards there have been watched for years and years, and so the hunting patterns and their movements are well documented, and so the guides in those areas know exactly where to check for their normal patrolling routes. Whereas here at Pridelands, we're still figuring it all out. Still figuring out, where do the leopards walk regularly? Where do the lions come in and out? There's an elephant coming down to the dam now. I think it was one of the ones that was at the dam earlier. Or maybe not, actually. It's got very small tusks. All the elephants that were here earlier had fairly decent sized tusks. I wonder where the rest of your group is. Probably not too far. There might be more coming. But especially this kind of weather. How it's acting. It's acting very strangely. It actually, from I can tell though, but the forehead looked very angled. Let's have a look here. It is a female.
Welcome back, everybody, to andBeyond Phinda. We've come out to the floodplain in the southeastern part of the reserve, where you can hear in the background a couple of moans and groans from Wildebeest. Not quite the Masai Mara in terms of numbers, but you can see quite a few little calves in the mix here, quite a lot lighter in colour than their moms and the adults, but super cute, the little Wildebeest calves, all running from each other just now. I think they were being chased by maybe the dominant male in the area. But we also came out into this area because when the weather turns funny like this and it starts to rain or it gets a little bit overcast, the elephants tend to make an appearance in the south of the reserve. They have made an appearance of the reserve this afternoon, but not quite this far south. I think they're still making their way here. Number of zebra as well, moseying about in the plains. Every so often when we come here we find, when the stars really align, things like black rhino out here. But as far as I can see, plenty of wildebeest and zebra out here, and not a bad spot for predators to hang around, like those cheetah we saw earlier. They're not too far from here, but I don't think they've moved from the spot that they were in this afternoon. When we saw them, they're still there, hunkered down, just busy having a scan at the binoculars. There's a herd of Impala in the distance on the other side, and even more zebra and wildebeest hidden below the base of that little mountain in front of us. We'll see now where Owen is busy zooming in. Rosalind, you commenting on how cute these little wildebeest or gnu calves are. They are super cute. I was driving around with one of the guys we work with the other day when a herd of them took off, and he said, oh look, there's a herd of wildebeest and Impala running together, obviously joking, but he thought it was hilarious. It was quite funny at the time. But they do look exactly like that, a lot lighter in colour, and that when they are lying down is just to help them remain concealed if there is a predator around, and they'll remain dead still, and hopefully the threat passes. And they're not the only thing that are a lot lighter in colour at a younger age. A lot of the antelope species as well. Sable is one of them. Not sure maybe if you've seen sable before with Nikki or some of the other guides up in the Lowveld. And I wouldn't be surprised if on some of these wildebeest you would be able to see their umbilical cords which is just an indication of how young they are. There are probably a couple that have yet to give birth as well out here. I'm just looking at them through the binocular, all huddled up next to one another like a little creche. Lovely setting this. We've got actually so much going on here. Super busy with these wildebeest and zebra. I'm surprised we haven't seen one or two warthog out in the open as well. A couple of birds that we can look out for here include black-bellied bustard. I know Grant's filmed them before doing that call, that champagne popping call as they describe it. This area that we call the floodplain, when we receive lots of rain, is really good for things like black kukul, the rosy-throated longclaw, which is a particularly pretty bird as well. But yeah, this afternoon, a lot of general game, plains game out here, all busy grazing. Can still hear the wind busy pumping through this area, but out here in the open they have got a fantastic chance coming from a distance. I don't think there are any predators in this area, or at least not that I know of, but I know guys have seen leopard before in those hills up in the background, but yeah, not quite the habitat where you'd see them hunting. Cheetah definitely out, not much cover. You can hear how quiet it's been in terms of bird calls as well this afternoon. Still really, really windy. You can imagine how much energy it takes them to get all chirpy in the afternoon. But maybe a little bit later, if the pressure drops and the wind dies down, we'll be able to see or hear better yet hear a lot of those birds in the afternoon. I might leave this area and head back towards where we had those cheetah, but from here we're going to head off to Lauren, who I believe has found a leopard.
I knew it was worth the wait. She didn't stay put for very long. She's stretching. She saw something. The baboons were alarming earlier, closer to the dam behind us, but I'm not sure if it was at Tandy herself or possibly her cub is also mobile in the area. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of light. It's getting really dark and I'm not entirely sure where the baboons were or where they were looking at. She looks like a statue. Now, Quarantine's been seen at Nkoro, and he is my dream leopard. We almost had him for you 2 weeks ago, but unfortunately technology failed us massively, so I am determined to get Quarantine on camera. Quarantine was Davi's first live kill, is that right?
That's right.
It was a scrap pair, but you know, it's still a kill. Okay. We now have a mobile cat. Oh, I think I'm going to turn Davi just in case we miss anything here. She's staying very close to the ground. She's going right to the tree. She's using the very little cover that she has to stock up on something. It's Impala. She sees the Impala. She's hungry. Now, we're not obviously going to block her view in any way, shape or form. Can you get it from here? Yeah. She's going to try. Or maybe she's looking at the Egyptian geese. She's trying to stay as low to the ground as possible. It's only going to take... Oh, she's going. Davi, let's get closer. She knows it's going to take one Impala and game is over. She's chased away the geese that could alert them. She's laying flat. She's somewhere here. Let's just relocate her. My hat's going to blow off. The Impala are running, but I don't know if they know exactly why they're running. Can you see her, Davi? And that's exactly what it's like to be a predator in the long grass. I've completely lost her. I know she's right here, but she'll be flat. The Impala have all ran. They're nervous. The weather makes them nervous. The geese all flew up into the air. Nice try though, Tandy, nice try. Oh, well done, Dove. I'm sorry, Tandy. It's not the best area for hunting, I must say. Alex, you're saying better luck next time, Tandy. I know. She tried. They're just nervous. I didn't hear any alarm calls against a wind. There could have been. The wind is very, very strong. It's almost howling. But that makes me think they didn't actually see her. They maybe got a whiff of her scent. Or they just saw the geese all fly up into the air at once and they thought, something's wrong here. I'm not sure what it is, but something's wrong and we're just going to run. What she's going to do now. Maybe a scrub here for dinner, Tandy? The Impala are still there. They're just at the other side of the dam now, which means she's got even more ground to cover if she wants to get to them again. My goodness, the wind is howling. I can smell something awful. It smells like death. Jay, what's an easiest catch for a leopard? I would imagine something small. I would imagine a slow-moving tortoise. That's probably extremely easy. Probably not so easy to open, though. Maybe a terrapin would be easier. They seem to have lots of luck with scrub hares. The scrub hares are very alert, so they've got to sneak up on them also. It also requires a bit of an ambush. But I've seen maybe alates when they're streaming out of their mound. Leopards eat everything. But once you start to get to the mammals, especially the bigger mammals, and even birds, it requires effort. It requires keeping your body low to the ground, stalking, ambushing, judgment, calculations. So something like a tortoise, they could easily snack on, crunch through that shell. And I don't think that would require too much effort. And if they can't get into the shell, a leopard tortoise, for example, especially an older one, that would be a very difficult shell to penetrate and break. I think a terrapin. I think she's going to sit and sulk for a little while. She's still looking in the direction of the Impala. I don't think she's going to give up just yet. She's reevaluating her plans. Okay, we're going to sit with Tandy and watch what she does. And while I do that, we're going to send you across to Nikki.
We came to this open area, and there's so many different animals here. There's Impala, wildebeest, zebra, and there's little wildebeest. There's baby zebra as well, and Impala. And just have a look at now, especially with the weather being the way that it is, how they're chasing each other. Look at the zebras chasing one another. You can see the wildebeest and the Impala all running. It might be also associated with the weather being nice and cool. So as we were sitting here, like, it's just one after another. The zebras chasing each other, then stopping, and then suddenly one of the wildebeest will start running. You can see a few of the male impalas moving into the area as well. There's now Impala chasing each other right in the middle there. And here's some wildebeest coming towards us now. You'll see them shortly in the screen coming past us. I'm just going to lower my head out of the way. You'll see them chasing one another. It's hard to follow because it's just so much movement. There, they're running. Oh, there's the one. It's incredible how elegant they are when they do run. And you see, like, with their whole build, how the front quarters are slightly higher than the back, so they have that it looks like the front legs are longer than the hind legs, and with that it just helps them with stamina whenever they do run. See these two youngsters just having a bit of a play. The third one is coming to join in. Joel, it does look like they're practicing for a marathon. Look at these youngsters especially. And my dad used to say that whenever the animals run like this or are very playful, there's a good chance there might be some rain in the area. So we'll have to see, especially now, like with all the clouds moving in, maybe we'll have a bit of rain this afternoon, late afternoon, early evening. There's now a wildebeest that's actually chasing an Impala just off to our right. So he's actually moving into screen. So this one that we're looking at now actually went and chased quite a few Impala. Full of energy. There's a young, small wildebeest, or there's a few of them that are making their way into the herd. So you'll see, just slightly right, Pika, of where we're looking now. Right there, you'll see the youngsters coming in. You will hear the wind is starting to pick up more and more, and there are quite a few dark clouds behind us. And that's why, this time of the day, there should still be quite a bit of light. But it is quite dark because of all the clouds that are moving in. And it looks like most of the weather is actually pushing down or up from the southern part. So I'm sure even at Djuma it must be quite dark with the clouds there as well. But it is a special scene, especially these open areas. You can see the tree line starting at the back. And like that impala from earlier, maybe these zebras, impalas and wildebeest have moved to the more open areas because it being more safe. There's more eyes, more ears, safety in numbers, especially if there are lions around. Or something for the impala like cheetah or wild dogs. At least having wildebeest and zebras around as well just increases their chance of survival. Razin, they can. Something like a lion, if the wildebeest has a head start in front of the lion, there's a good chance that it might outrun the lion. However, if the lion has the element of surprise, and it's too close, then it probably won't be able to. But it all depends. For a big wildebeest like this, the only other animal wild dogs could go for them, especially the youngsters, cheetah. They are pretty quick. But cheetah and wild dogs won't necessarily go for the bigger individuals. They'll go for the small babies. And so they'll try, when they chase them, they'll try and separate the baby from the rest of the herd and single that out. So let's head from here towards the zebra, because zebra, of course, my favorite animals. And there's a few of them that are making their way closer towards us. The one right in the middle of the screen looks fairly pregnant. Just look at the size of the belly in comparison to the others. But I do love the stripe pattern, and every single zebra has a different stripe pattern. Look at the one, for example, in the front. You'll see that in between the black, if you look at those white lines, it's quite clear. It looks like it's been washed, whereas the ones at the back have those shadow stripes that run between the broader black stripes, which is really unique. And as we mentioned, every zebra has a different stripe pattern. Even the stripes that run from the neck into the mane. Well, with the zebras, I'm not too sure if they'll use it necessarily to communicate. But what I do know is that animals have, they read body language pretty well, because often if zebra communicate, let's say if males want to fight with one another, they'll often lower their ears and lower their head. So I'm sure the tail has to play some part of it all. But often what they tend to do, especially the males, if they chase one another and they bite each other, they can sometimes even bite off that tail. But I think in this case, the zebra's tail is probably more likely to be used to swat those flies and keep them away. Look how this zebra is using its upper lip to grab the grass as you would use with your hand, and then pull it into its mouth and then just strip it off. It's interesting, the different patterns on the bodies of these animals. Look at the impala. If you look at their pattern, it looks like it's divided into different horizons. So if you look at the belly, it's white, and then a bit of brown, and then the darker red. And if you look at the zebra, it has more of a dazzle, more of a optical illusion, or a disruptive marking instead of the normal camouflage that we refer to with animals. And then, of course, the wildebeest being almost like this grey blackish color, but then on the side of especially near the front of the wildebeest, you'll notice these stripes, these vertical stripes that run down, known as brindles. And it's amazing that how just these three all have different stripe patterns, and how they in their environment blend in so well. I mean, the impala, if you look at the landscape, the different layers, you start up with that white at the tip of the grass, which resembles their belly. Maybe some of the scrubs that looks like that middle brown part, and then of course the darker is the trees in the back. Whereas with the zebra, if all of them are together and they run away, it creates that optical illusion. Also with the wildebeest, imagine if they stand in the shade of a tree, how difficult it would be for a predator to see them.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
For the month of January 2021, we are offering a chance to win a unique WildEarth expedition to the magnificent Tswalu Kalahari. From the ancient Kortai's Koranenberg Mountains to the southern Kalahari's red sand dunes, Tswalu offers what travelers crave most: space and time. The winner will explore this landscape in a vehicle, on foot, or on horseback, with a chance to go behind the scenes with WildEarth and of course meet the meerkats. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend at the luxury Motse Lodge, including flights from either Johannesburg or Cape Town. Open to all WildEarth explorers who have signed up before the end of January 2021. Terms and conditions apply.
Just having a look at these wildebeest again. So a few of the youngsters were having a bit of a play fight right in the middle of that sandy patch there, and suddenly a lot of adults came and looked at them, almost like reprimanding them, and they've now stopped. There's a little wildebeest at the back that started to run. So where we are now, if we go slightly left, you'll see there's a wildebeest just slightly left of the herd. Now above it is a little calf in the background. Now that calf was running around. I think the mum might have just been, see there's Impala there, and just behind it there's another wildebeest. So mum's right there, and the little one just decided to go for a run and then came back. Just trying to see if there's some more. These other wildebeest are actually play fighting again right in front of us. Let's have a look at them. You'll see sometimes when they do have a bit of a tussle together, they will go on their knees in order to try and work their way underneath one another. See how that one's just gone on there. The typical bulls, just trying to show dominance and trying to see who's sizing each other up and see who's the stronger one here. Yes. So I just want to try and reposition a little bit to see if we can get another glimpse. So I'm just going to move to right over here. Just hold on. There we go. So they were just moving in quite an awkward angle, so we just wanted to reposition the vehicle so we can have another glimpse. David, there could be, like in terms of the numbers with these herds, like if I understand the question correctly, is I don't think they're going to be exactly the same number. I mean, like the Impala here is going to be way more than the zebra or the wildebeest. You might find that the zebra and the wildebeest numbers might be more or less the same. But with the rest, the Impala is going to be more than the zebra, the wildebeest might be more than the zebra, but I would say probably between those two, zebra and wildebeest, more likely. But the Impala, there's a lot of them. And it looks like with this whole herd of Impala here, it's actually a bachelor herd because all of them are males. I haven't seen one female. So they're probably just being here because of the safety numbers. There's a wildebeest right in front of us now. He probably has an itch on the side of his head. He's found a branch, and you'll see how he's rubbing his head around that branch just to try and get rid of that itch. Earlier on, he was scratching behind his ear, then he scratched on the side of his eye. Might also be like right next to the wildebeest eyes, you'll see there's these preorbital glands. So if it's a dominant bull, he'll rub his scent up against that tree, telling all the other males that he's the dominant one. But in this case, it might just be more of him trying to scratch his back or like behind his neck. What a beautiful, beautiful scene this afternoon. Definitely one of my highlights. So while we enjoy these animals in these open areas, let's head across to another interesting creature that occurs in open areas with JP.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We just managed to find a male ostrich. We're really hoping that he's going to stand still. So, there he goes. He's just stood still. So we'll be able to see him. So if we do see ostriches, and we can very easily actually separate the males from females, when we look at their color pattern. So the male has an all black plumage with white, and a female is grayish in plumage coloration. And the reason why is because of the males will sit most of the time on the nest during the night time, while the female will sit for most of the daytime on the nest. So normally when a male has females, he normally has a number of females, of which one of those females will be a dominant hen, and she will be responsible for most of the incubation of those eggs. And quite interestingly, she'll make sure that her own eggs is to the center of that nest, while the less dominant females will have their eggs on the outside of that big nest scrape. I think we've just lost him. It's a little bit difficult in trying to locate them. He's moved into vegetation, and we will not be able to get a better view on him. Just something interesting, these birds can obtain speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour, and it's pretty impressive to see them when they're running at full speed. I also find it quite fascinating when it comes to how keen their eyesight is. I've once watched a pair of ostriches which was sitting close by to a nest. Another ostrich appeared from the distance. I just managed to see it through my binoculars. Immediately that one male got up and started running towards the other male and chased him out of the area. Ostriches are also quite funny in terms of their diet. They often will feed on quite a few little things, such as plant material and a number of other, and then they'll complement their diet with stones to assist with the digestion of their food. We're just going to see if we can find him again, but in the meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Andrew, who's busy viewing some impala.
Thank you very much, JP. Good luck. So, we're now sitting here with a whole bunch of male impalas, which is now it's pushing harder, pouring wind at the same time. Most of the antelope, they would be so disturbed, and because this is where now the cats have a lot of advantages hunting them. They're all just gonna run around not knowing where they're going. More likely enough that they're in the open area here in case anything approach, and they were able to spot it and they ran off. It's quite a lot of them on the other side where they also just stationary. Kind of like they're so confused, but it's so cool that when they do that, each one of them has to look different way. So everybody has a work to do for their own safe. So it's everybody's safe, not only for one individual animal there. But this is what's going to happen maybe the entire night when it's poured like this. They weren't going to do much of movement. But also the cats as well. They gain a lot of access where they know exactly how to downwind the prey and approach them without knowing that there is anything coming in for them. This is when the prey species won't smell the predators. And they will look so confused because they cannot hear it very nice around themselves. So wind that's pushing so much in these trees. They would sometimes run away for nothing. Because of these trees are shaking too much. Grass is making a lot of movement, being pushed by the wind. And actually we're receiving this rain from the south to the north, where if it's a cat, they would probably move to the south, wherever they are. If they're in the north, they would come south, because that's how they hunt. Many of the prey species, they don't want to face the rain, and they would rather follow the rain directions. But they also get cold, where same as human. When it's hot, all you need is shadow, where it's the same with the animal. Now there's shivering in there. You can't believe all the changes that are happening. The heat that was taking place is now it's all the cold that takes place. When then is so much of a cold that takes place, is many of the animals, they will rush into brushes. Those are the elephants, most giraffes, they will be in very much hiding places. Impala wish they could, when they want to, they can, but it's not safe to be in the woodland when it's so much of a rain. And they will be free again once all rain down. It's probably when this wind stops. And they will be free again. They will be able to do normal activity, move about, eat, graze, browses. Even though elephants are so big, sometimes you find them in the river where the wind blows less. Tom, so you're asking if were they able to run fast? Yes, they do. Even though this is not actually very cold, and it's only starting, because, midday, I understand, was over 30 degrees, and they will drop up to 28 downwards. But they will be able to run fast as much as they can to actually get away from the danger. They're not actually happy at all. And then we're not sure, especially these males are just shouting about now. So it could be that maybe they've seen something, whether they see a lot of movement of bushes from way distance that they're not sure about. But a lot of times they don't make mistakes. They always make sure they see things when they make kind of like warning sound. And the bee is actually busy making this sound. Around there just to check what comes, and then whatever it is, we'll probably find out what it is. So I'm gonna check around here, see what this Impala's seen. I'm gonna be sending you over to JP.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Tswalu. We just managed to locate on a Kori bustard, which is just walking off. We just want to reposition the vehicle that we can get a better view of him, and hopefully we'll be able to keep track of him. Oh, some Springbok as well came into the picture. It's going to go a little bit more forward, and then we'll be hopefully, there he is. In the meanwhile, Craig is just going to quickly zoom in on him, but I'll tell you a little bit more about him. There we go. There's our Kori bustard. So as mentioned before, this is one of the heaviest flying birds in the world, and they can get up to a weight of approximately 22 kilograms. So more typically it would probably be between 18 and 19 kilograms. Oh, there's a second one just further to the back in the distance, and it does look like a male that is potentially trying to display. Just want to see what is he up to. So quite often when we do have males that are displaying, you'll notice that they actually puff up their throats, as well as that they'll point their wings down to the ground. At the moment, this guy is just seemingly walking about and busy looking for a meal. They do eat quite a wide range of different things, which includes chameleons as well as insects and a number of other small lizards. They also quite often will feed on the gum of acacia trees. Hence the Afrikaans name Hippo, which means a glue peacock, because of the behavior of eating the gum from the trees. I'm just going to reposition the vehicle. We're just hoping to see what they're up to so we can get a better shot. It almost looks like if a male wants to display. I really, really hope that he is going to do so, because that's quite special to see. I've just regained the visual on the female. However, I cannot see the male at the moment. In the meanwhile, there he is, right at the back. Kori bustards also probably make one of the strangest of the sounds of any of the birds out here. And it almost sounds like a dog that's barking. The first time that I heard it, I was really startled by the sound, as it was producing the call quite at close range. I was pretty young and fairly inexperienced in those days and had absolutely no idea what it was. And to my surprise, it was this big Kori bustard. One of the interesting things that I have seen in the past is actually that cheetah try and hunt them. And one of the strategies that cheetah will follow is to directly chase them in the opposite direction as with the wind, so that they can't obtain lift. And then make it more easy to catch them. They're so impressive to watch. I really always enjoy seeing Kori bustards. It's even more impressive to see them flying. Good afternoon, Eddie, and welcome to the show. I can fully understand why it's one of your favorite birds. They do appear so graceful when they are walking through the veld and just looking for food. In the meanwhile, they're disappearing into the distance. We're just going to pan onto the Springbok, which is close by to us. If we look closely to these Springbok, we'll notice that they've all got very thin horns. These are all females. If we also notice and have a closer look at their bellies, you'll see that all of them are pregnant at the moment. Hopefully they'll be lambing very soon. Good afternoon, Alison, and welcome to the show. It's always a special animal to see, especially in the arid environments where they belong. Quite often we see that they've been translocated into other game reserves where they do not belong, and it never seems for me as aesthetical as seeing them in the Kalahari or the arid western half of South Africa. One of the things that I wish would be possible to see was a migration of Springbok. However, they no longer migrate. Historically, it was said that these antelope would form herds of several kilometers long and several kilometers wide. They would then migrate between their summer and their winter rainfall areas, depending on their food requirements.
Thanks, JP. We finally get close to this, a whole herd of impalas, or rank of impala, you call them. And then the whole just get around in this open area. So they're running around quite a lot here. It's because of get disturbed. Also male that's pushing them so hard. So you're trying to gather them around here. What we've seen was actually a whole bunch of male on the far side, where maybe he doesn't like them. And that's usual for a male impala, that he's dominating the high rim, where he won't be polite enough to welcome any other male in, especially that he's the only one now has a choice or chance to dominate the whole females over here, which now he would face a lot of challenge there, because all of these outstanding males are out there, bachelor group. They would finally have their turn to dominate this herd. So he might actually get a challenge later or soon, face a challenge for a fight, defend himself. If he lost the fight, it means that he has to move out of a high rim, and the new male will proceed coming in. So I'm gonna check around, see if I find anything.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still sitting watching our Springbok and seeing what they're getting up to. One of my favorite moments at Tswalu was actually where these Springboks were being chased by predators. And quite often when they are being chased by predators, you'll actually notice how high they can jump, sometimes up to 2 to 3 meters in height, that they will pronk in an upright position. This is often used to display their athletic abilities and their well-being towards predators, that will then notice that these animals are in a good condition and that they won't be able to catch them. But on the other hand, it also shows up your friend who might have a potential injury and then will be caught by the predator, as predators most of the time will focus on the sick or the injured, as well as young animals. Some of the other amazing moments that I spent with Springbok on Tswalu was where the female cheetah has caught young Springbok lambs and taken these back to the young cheetah cubs. She would stun it, and then these young little cheetah cubs will practice in trying to catch it. And this was repeated for several hours while we watched her demonstrating this behavior. And meanwhile, we're going to hand you over to Andrew. So you've now noticed some of the differences between Springbok, and you'll be able to compare that to the Impala that he's viewing.
Thanks, JP. Same about here, what we got. They do look like a Springbok, but they're definitely not a Springbok. When you look at these Impala that we have here, it's the size of an antelope like in the Springbok, but only the difference is that they don't have actually a lot of white on their belly, not at all. Also, females don't have horn here, what you got, and only males that have horn. That's what actually separate them apart from being Springbok. And also these are meant to be also prefer savanna area most ways. The grazelands, green brushes, kind of thicket. So now it's getting kind of a slightly dark, where then they need to make sure they have to choose the area where they have to be. When it gets very dark, they can still see, but they got to be careful not to run in and out in this area once it's dark, because this is where there's a chance for predators if any chance that they're around here. And they have all their young one mixed here with them. And that's what makes so much easy for the leopard when they hunt them. So anybody here is a target. They're fully grown Impala, already a young one. Many times these young ones, you see them getting hunted so much because of that they're actually small size. And they haven't actually gained a lot of experience to act quickly when it's an emergency. Oh, yeah, they're actually a high jumper. They can actually jump very well, Impalas. And they do kind of like what Springbok, though, actually kind of like pronking kind of jump, things like that. But these also sometimes they would do that, with height legs, kick right up in the air. When you see them do that, it looks like they probably hurt and they're about to fall down, but they're not, just kind of display. We're talking about fastest they can run, which is cool, even though they can run faster, but who hunts them, they know that they can run fast. And to act on that is to ambush. These are leopards. Even though it's a lion, the lions are moving in such a group. They can surround this high rim over here. And when they approach from different angle, it happens that they probably come out with a few of them down. And they're able to share in their pride where leopard hunt solitary. So as they can see, they do actually seek shelter from the rain, away from the rain, but they don't have a choice. If there was actually big trees around here, they would get around underneath, but at the same time they need their life to be safe, so they'd rather be colder while they're pausing in this open area to watch out. And that's why at the moment many of them, all of them, looks like they're not actually feeding at all. They're just checking out, but until the wind died down, this is where they will all get comfortable, do their normal moving around, probably lie down when they can. And this kind of wind that is blowing, and it's especially just a little bit of a pouring, and now it's done, just the wind that is pushing too much from the south to the north, and they were more likely to get even more colder. But they get then fluffy their skin. Now all of this now hearing a contact call. All of them snorting right now, or alarm calling. This way, if there is anything. So I'm gonna keep checking around here. I'm gonna be sending you over to Mike with his zebras.
Welcome back everybody to andBeyond Phinda, where we've managed to find a couple of zebra, Impala, and then a couple of giraffe as well. And if you have a look at that giraffe at the back, it's actually lying down resting at the moment, which is not something that you see all that often. And in amongst this lot as well is a really small zebra foal tucked up next to mom. It is minute, and from here with no binoculars you can almost barely make out its stripes, but it's tiny if you just look in comparison to the size of mom. Very busy little area this, and this is an area that the guys have been seeing a young female leopard quite regularly, but all of the plains game here are actually super relaxed this afternoon, so much so that giraffe is lying down. If that leopard was around, I can imagine those impalas would start alarming or snorting. Those giraffe would stare fixedly at that leopard as well, wherever it was, if it was hiding, and they often can be quite a good aid for us in terms of finding predators like leopards, because they just stare at them, often walk up to them, flick their tails, and other animals like the impala and zebra here will be alerted to that behavior and hopefully find the threat. Elizabeth, you're asking if all impala are absolutely identical. For the most part, yes. I suppose the only difference... Oh, have a look at that giraffe chasing the impala. It's just chased them behind the tree and stopped now. For the most part, yes, they are identical. Males obviously have the horns, the females don't. But then in terms of males, you might find some with horns that are a little bit different or deformed. Sometimes that sort of droop back down and are not all that normal, but for the most part they are all identical. Unless of course there was a leucistic impala that was seen. I think it was in the Kruger National Park area. I'm just trying to... Sorry, I keep getting distracted. There's that giraffe running in the background to and from. You just catch a glimpse of it through a gap every so often. It might just be a younger giraffe that's playing around, trying to make some friends out here. New year, new beginnings, but I don't think, those impala didn't hang around for that. And fascinating to watch them run, very differently to the way they walk. That walk of theirs where both left legs move at the same time and then both right legs, there you go. And when they run like dogs when their back legs overtake their front legs. Now he's out in the open, that one that I was talking about chasing the impala. Even the zebra starting to get involved now, having a bit of a run around. You can see in the distance that little bit of rain. Joy, you're saying that zebras might just be your new favorite animal. That's amazing. They are beautiful animals at that. Joy, those stripes of theirs, I love those, particularly those diamond shape markings on their faces. But that little foal in the mix there as well was super cute. So I'm glad you've got a new favorite. Also an amazing picture that with those two giraffe that are now, the one standing just behind the other one that's lying down. One lying down now, stretching its neck all the way down, grooming itself on its back. We're just going to switch to infrared so you can get a better view this evening. We're starting to lose light now that it's quite overcast. It's getting darker quite a bit quicker. I'm hoping that giraffe comes back out into the open to have a bit of a run around. Have a look at this. It's full of energy. And you see the impala scattering below. Something that you see every so often is maybe things like lions that potentially could look to take down something like a giraffe. But a kick from a giraffe could put a lion out of business. Indefinitely, if not permanently sometimes, so it's sort of high risk, high reward, but to see this one running around like it is actually quite amusing. There it comes back again. It's having a whale of a time. Through the gap, you can see even the impala on edge with him running around like that, not quite sure why it's doing what it's doing there. It's now joined the other two. Now just looking back and wondering why its friends didn't join him. Oh, and now the impala also having a run around. But these impala are all male, and we're coming up to that time of year when they rut, so those males will be trying to establish dominance in amongst themselves, so you often find those big herds of just impala males. Here comes that giraffe again. Let's see if he doesn't chase the impala around. This is amazing. You're going to sit and spend some time here and see if anything changes, maybe some alarm calls, but we'll head off to Andrew, who's found a hyena.
Thank you very much. So, we discovered the hyenas here. I think maybe this impala was alarming, calling about the hyena. And they actually still had a visual of this hyena where they're still running around in the background. So, this hyena also looking at the impala. So, they're looking at each other right now. One is gonna take a slow motion into the direction of impala. And they won't stop. So they're actually hoping for any of these Impala that they cannot actually make it. They cannot move or cannot run. Those one then will be a target for a hyena. Hyena, they actually hunt successfully. Now running away. Not sure why they're running. Something they're not sure about as well. Maybe it happens that they also thought of that could be any big cats around here, because they didn't actually run in the direction of Impala, they ran opposite way and they went stop. So I'm gonna try to reposition if we'll get another look of them. Even though if it's a cat around here, it won't appear here right now because it's too much open. We're probably gonna need more time, especially in the presence of a hyena being in its position. The leopards know exactly what is gonna happen, even though the hunt takes place every time she gets succeed. This is where now the prey is going to be stolen from these hyenas. The light will do its best to search around. Last time we saw them was actually far somewhere there. I don't have a visual of this hyena right now. I wasn't going to go too far, so I'm going to drive slightly towards this road here. They'll come back probably the same road, and if they interested on hunting Impala, nothing else that disturbing them, they're probably going to come back this hippo. This hyena. So I'm going to spend time here shunning around. Hopefully we get a cat moving about hunting.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
My name is James Hendry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a WildEarth explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We just found a journey of giraffe. It's busy feeding on the dune crest. And it's so beautiful with the sun directly behind them. We're going to try and keep up with them and just enjoy the sighting and see what they get up to. For the moment, they're just browsing. So the group mostly consists out of females that we see over here with little black paintbrush-like tufts to their ossicones, which is those horn-like structures on the head. Just going to move forward. And we also notice that there's a single bull that's following the group. So he's hopefully hoping that these females might be an estrus. We're going to sit here and view them, and we go. Good afternoon, Lisa, and welcome to the show. It is probably one of the most beautiful pictures that you can have as a giraffe with a sunset and a silhouette in the background. And myself and Craig, we're enjoying every second of it at the moment, watching them. So we're going to stick with them. But we also would like to just provide everybody the opportunity to have a quiet moment, just listen to the sounds that nature has to provide and enjoy the sighting of the giraffe. We're just still going to provide you with a quiet moment, but we're just going to reposition the vehicle for you to get a better view. That's crazy. Forward. How beautiful is that? Good afternoon, Sassy. I definitely agree with you. I don't think I've ever seen such a beautiful sighting of giraffes at a sunset. We're going to enjoy this sighting of ours for a little bit longer as it's so beautiful. But in the meanwhile, we're handing you over to Matt, who's also currently viewing a giraffe.
Welcome back, everybody, from one journey of giraffe to another. They have just gotten up and moved those giraffe. It is still quite windy, so maybe just venturing off into an area that's a little bit more sheltered from the wind. The Impala and zebra also just standing, listening to what's happening around them. We saw quite a big herd of buffalo in this area as well. They were also probably hiding, but they've now come out into the open. They're a little bit further back behind us. But the zebra in front of us also, some have their heads down, still grazing with that herd of impala. We heard some faint alarm calls earlier from the impala, and we're wondering if maybe one of those leopards were making an appearance, but it's gone quiet again in terms of the alarm call, so we're also just waiting patiently to see if anything changes here. Those zebra you can now see also moving off into the distance. An eerie silence about tonight when there's a lull in the wind, and really good conditions for predators to hunt in, using that wind to mask their movements. Ideal for something like a leopard in this area. There's two that I've recently made an appearance on TV recently. Those two female leopards, I'm sure will be out and about this evening in the cool of the evening trying to hunt, and if we don't have any luck with them this evening, we'll definitely come back to the spot tomorrow morning to see if we can't find any tracks or signs of them. I think definitely one of my favourite cats, just their elusiveness. Wouldn't be surprised if a herd of buffalo also ventures into this open area at some stage of the night. Also just listening out for some of the nighttime calls, things like hyenas maybe, that you might start hearing. I haven't for a while now heard the lions calling. And I wonder if the coalition of males down here, if they are not together, will also start vocalizing to find each other, let every other lion in the area know that they're around, and potentially find the pride of lions or their pride of lions. We're going to head back to JP now, who's also found some giraffe, and we'll see what they're up to this evening.
Welcome back to Tswalu. We're still watching this female over here. She's actually displaying very interesting behavior. We spoke briefly about phlegm and grimace earlier on, and she's currently displaying that same phlegm and grimace behavior, which we mentioned with the cheetah. So what was quite strange about it is that she did go up towards one of the other females and necked the female, which is normally a behavior which we associate with bulls. And then she smelled the reproductive areas of this female and sampled the urine. And now she's analyzing that scent. So most likely, that's one of these females are an estrus, and explains why this bull is with them. We're just going to sit and watch him a little bit longer, just enjoy the sunset and the interaction between the individuals. Good evening, Tobias, and welcome to the show. I've read before that they can run approximately 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. However, there's a number of different books that differ in terms of the speed that they can obtain. One of the things that we normally see is when they do run is that they will actually kick their hind legs past their front legs compared to their normal gait where they will walk with the left front and back followed by the right front and back passing them. And quite often when they are running at full speed, they tend to keep their heads straight or the necks more straight to prevent that they fall over. It's pretty impressive to see them running. However, when we do get close to them and they do become nervous with the vehicle, we allow them a lot of space because we never want them to run. Quite often running can get them into trouble, as they can easily trip up if it's broken terrain. And we find that lions quite often will utilize this behavior of chasing giraffe into areas where there is uneven terrain to make them trip, because it's quite a dangerous animal for a lion to hunt. We also find within the Kruger National Park of South Africa that lions will often chase giraffe onto tar roads to make them slip for that reason, as they're not very effective with running on tar. There we can see that Fleming Grima's behavior again. She's just sampled some urine where the other female has urinated a short while ago. Good evening, ST, and welcome to the show. When they do sleep, they often sleep in an upright position for short moments. They sometimes will also go down on their knees and sleep in an upright position if they really feel safe. Sometimes what you'll also notice is with the very young giraffes, which is a few months old, might actually lie down on their side. I've only seen this behavior once with an adult, but more often with the little giraffes. Over the years that I've been working with Tswalu, I've had many memorable experiences with giraffe. Some of these were giraffe at a waterhole with a full moon in the background while the sun was setting. I will never forget that, especially with the backdrop of the camel thorns and then also the sun in the east of us. Other sighting that I will never forget is a group of 20-odd giraffe that was busy following two cheetahs. However, I think my most memorable sighting of giraffe at Tswalu will definitely be the sunset that we're experiencing tonight. Good evening, Andrew. To answer your question, around by 3-4 years ago, they were divided into 4 different species with a number of different subspecies. So for the Southern African region, there's Angola giraffe as well as Southern giraffe, which is 2 subspecies which we encounter within the Southern African sub-region. The interesting thing for me, historically they used to divide them in 8 or 9 different subspecies, and each of these got their own unique patterning. So it actually makes quite an interesting little study if you can go and research all of these different subspecies and look at the patterns that they have. One of my favorite giraffes is actually the Maasai giraffe. I just love their patterning. Those I've only found in East Africa. However, quite often you do find a number of interesting patterns within the Southern African region as well. And this is purely down to genetics and not being another subspecies. And these might range from incredibly dark to incredibly light, and it will also vary between male and female, and also between different age groups. Good evening, Giraffe Cool. I would love to know what your other top 4 is, but this is definitely one of my top giraffe sightings. This evening will be one of my last drives at Tswalu. As I'm heading back to the Lowveld tomorrow, I just would like to say thank you very much for everybody for joining us over the last 12 days. It has been an incredible experience for me to be able to guide and to share my knowledge with all the viewers. We'll be back again tomorrow morning at 5:30 Central African time, and I'll be then Kyle will be taking over from me, a face that you all are familiar with. Have a lovely evening.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include